afternoon. We had a long day of discussions, interesting panels and speeches. So this is a grand finale of the day where I'm going to engage with Miss Brahmani Nara. She's the Executive Director of Heritage Foods, a leading dairy brand, as you all know, a 4,000 crore company that is into everything starting from milk onto value-added products like paneer, cheese, chocolates, ice cream, everything dairy. Before I launch off into my discussion with her, I just want to give a brief introduction to Ms. Nara. She is an electrical, very different background for someone running a dairy company. She's an electrical engineer from Santa Clara University. She graduated with distinction, summa cum laude from the university, and a host of other medals, including the Dean's Medal, if I'm right. And she did her MBA from Stanford, and she joined Heritage Foods in 2013, which was already a 2-decade-old company then. I'm going to start by asking her, what is it that your background of electrical engineering, technology, you're a technocrat, as they say, engineering with MBA. How did it help you in running Heritage Foods in the last decade and a quarter, if I'm right? And what do you bring to the table for the company in terms of your expertise?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me here, and thanks to the whole Hindu Business Line team. It's been tremendous listening to all the conversations through the evening. But coming back to the question, I think I was quite privileged to be quite academically oriented by the family. My parents were always focused on academics. So I did pretty well when I was at Santa Clara doing engineering. That got my foot in the door, had a great experience working in venture capital, going through different consumer sectors in India at that point in time. So healthcare was interesting, education was interesting. There were some opportunities in food as well. I think that exposure tremendously impacted what I brought back to the business, Heritage Foods. It helped me open up my mind to see the possibilities out there. And having lived in the Bay Area, I did both my undergrad as well as my master's in the Bay Area. I think that passion for technology and understanding the positive impact that technology could have on businesses, especially the dairy business, was very interesting for me.
So, on the subject of technology, if you want to dwell a little bit on the technological improvements or methods that you have brought to the company in its main business of dairy, would you want to dwell on that a little bit?
Sure. I think that's a very interesting question, right? Because when you think of dairy, you think of it as a very traditional business. However, there was a huge opportunity to organize things much better because it's a very decentralized supply chain, value chain. You're going to thousands and thousands of villages, to lakhs of farmers to collect milk from them. You're bringing all of that milk, that is lakhs of liters of milk, back to your factory. And then wherein milk gets processed and packaged and goes to markets through various different channels. Again, reaches consumers through general trade, through modern retail format stores, through quick commerce these days, etc. So we were the first dairy company to go on SAP end-to-end. So we have tremendous amount of data. We automate all of our operations in the supply chain. So right from the measurement of quality to quantity of milk, and how much we owe to the farmer who is paid on a regular basis is digitally real-time calculated through our analyzers. Aside from that, all the quality testing information is captured through technology real-time without any manual intervention. And everything else about where every batch of milk from a certain village is going to the consumer and how it is going, and all of the quality parameters that are involved is captured real time through technology. We're able to ensure better quality. As a result of that, we use a lot of IoTs to ensure that our cold chain is tight and we provide the freshest possible product to our consumers. Is something that we were able to achieve. So what is the outcome of it? today on some of our products and packaging of our products, we have introduced QR codes, so traceability is much better, as well as that particular packet of milk's quality parameters in the testing process is transparent to the consumer.
So are you saying if I buy a packet of heritage paneer, if I scan the QR code, the traceability will take me down to the farmer from whom the milk was sourced?
That is also possible. At this point in time, what we provide is all of the quality parameters that we've tested for and how we've fared as an organization. So technology has been brilliant in terms of transparency towards the farmer. Because that builds relationships with farmers. They have options to supply their milk to any other dairy company, right? Not just Heritage Foods. So it brings in a lot of transparency, especially women farmers, right? Because 70% of dairy farmers in India are women farmers who depend on this activity for their livelihoods. And a lot of transparency on the consumer side and a lot of dependability on the brand because of the same.
Yeah, talking of farmers, as you say, 70% are women farmers, and dairy is also seen as a supplementary income to main farming activity, and it's a shelter when there is a disaster, natural disaster, and you're not able to get farm output. So then your milch animals help you to keep you going with your income. So what is it that heritage and the industry can do to help women farmers, farmers in general, dairy farmers, and women in dairy farming? What is it that you bring to the table?
So I think, just building a little bit of context, what excited me about the opportunity of coming back and, joining Heritage Foods is the fact that there was an opportunity for high impact, especially among women on the farm side as well as on the market side or the consumer side, because end of the day, women are real decision makers, caretakers when it comes to nutrition of the family, right? So that was very, very interesting for me. And also I was enthused by the amount of impact I could have, because dairy today is the largest contributor towards the agrarian economy of India. It's larger than wheat, pulses, and paddy put together. That's how big the impact is. So having said that, I think there's a lot of things that we do. For one, we're very transparent with our farmers in terms of measuring the quality and quantity of milk, which may generally be a big issue otherwise in an extremely unorganized dairy industry, such as what we see in India. The other is we punctually pay our farmers. Luckily, now as I speak, most women dairy farmers are bankable thanks to PM Jan Dhan Yojana as well as various welfare schemes. So we digitally transfer monies directly to women farmers' bank accounts on a regular basis, and we do it very, very punctually. I think these are two big benefits that they see. Thirdly, there is no milk holiday at all. So no matter how the external conditions are, sales may be lower because of rains, floods, whatever be the situation, we always guarantee picking up milk from our women farmers and market them effectively in the market. These being transactional benefits that we offer as a company, I think there are several other things that we do outside of this subject that to build that kind of loyalty, because as an organization, we're very, very focused on impact. The mission of the organization is empowering the farmer and delighting the consumer. And this is timeless. It's been the mission of the organization since day one, right? So we actually organize a lot of credit for women farmers very efficiently using technology and very easily. They don't even have to provide collateral because we have a history of their transactions with us. So it makes it very easy. The collateral is the milk that they supply to us itself, or their livestock are their active assets. So milk payments, EMI payments get deducted from the milk payments that they make to Heritage Foods. And we facilitate this through several banks and NBFCs. And like I said, it's all digitally managed. Every year, we lend more than 200 crores through third parties to our women farmers to be able to invest back into their herd, as well as to help them invest into technology, expand their operations, etc. Aside from that, I think something that's technology enabled and very close to my heart is an app called the Vet Plus app. So today, as I speak to you, we use this app to onboard new farmers, register them with the company. Not just that, it's a platform that provides a lot of information on good herd management practices, on things such as how to better, take care of animals, nutrition, healthcare. Also, things such as, how can they avail some of these other benefits, inputs and benefits that we offer to them better and more efficiently. So we empower them with more information.
I presume it's in the native language, the vernacular language.
Yes. It is available in most native languages, and it's so there are no issues of not understanding English, or it's a very flexible one. So I think these are some of those things that we do with them. We also supply animal feed to our farmers at subsidized rates, and the logistics is very efficient for them. We use our existing milk vehicles to supply feed to them, which is very efficient because they don't have to invest too much into buying too much feed at a given point in time. So it saves them a lot of working capital, etc. So I think given the larger mission of empowering farmers and the vision to double their incomes every couple of years, we as an organization go above and beyond the transactional relationship that we have with farmers in order to improve their livelihoods.
So you said your payments to the farmers are instant. What is the cycle? If the milk is supplied today, you pay them tomorrow, or is there a credit period that...
Yes, so typically because going physically to a bank is a problem, historically it's been a 10 or 15 day cycle, and on the payday we transfer money on the payday itself to their bank accounts directly. And it's a very efficient one. In fact, we were awarded for being the most digitized dairy company by one of the major banks in India, not just on the supply side, but also on the market side, wherein all the collections from our distribution partners happens via bank transactions.
Okay. So cattle is your raw material, right? It's the most important to keep your industry and your company going. Do you have any specific programs where you work with farmers to ensure health of cattle, or ensure the longevity, the milk production increases, that kind of stuff?
So it's interesting you're asking that, Raghu, because we are probably the dairy company with the largest proportion of manpower working in the field with farmers directly. So we have a lot of quality manpower, procurement manpower, veterinarians going into the field, working directly with farmers to improve their practices, as well as to make sure we actively improve the health of animals and the productivity of animals. Like I said, organizing efficient, effective credit is something that is very beneficial for them. And also subsidizing and supplying high quality cattle feed also adds to the benefit of improving animal productivity of health and health. But added to this, I do want to appreciate some of the initiatives that the government is taking, the policymakers are taking. I think in the most recent budget, we have seen that there was a focus on livestock and agri. One of the announcements that was made was, credit-related subsidies to be given by the government. The finance minister had announced that in order to modernize livestock practices and to create an integrated supply chain. I think that, coupled with all the efforts that we're putting in as an organization, is incredible. It will, potentially attract thousands of young women at the village level to become entrepreneurs and to earn a better living for themselves, to be more independent, to make smarter decisions for their families and their communities. I think that's something that's really, really appreciable. Another very interesting announcement made was supporting capacity building when it comes to veterinary services. So the finance minister committed to scale up the number of veterinarians by about 20,000 in number. which is the need of the hour, because the gap is really, really tremendous, and most of them go to cooperative companies, and we as private sector dairy companies struggle. So I think that's a brilliant one, because it helps in caring for animals more proactively. And also, not just that, right? Building awareness about the importance of things such as animal feed, feed supplements, and mineral mixtures. Because if you actually looked at the numbers, the amount of animal feed or cattle feed required per liter is about 400 grams, whereas the actual consumption is anywhere between only 50 or 100 grams.
Oh.
And for our company, it's about 80 grams, right? So the gap is huge. And this is something that can have a direct positive impact on the health of animals and improving livelihoods of the women farmers in villages. So I think that's also a very plausible announcement made by the finance minister. There are other things also, like the Bharat Vistar app that was announced, which I think can be a very interesting AI play in terms of decision making and adopting and scaling up new best practices across the country. And I'm hoping that will work out really well as well. And I think something else that's very interesting is the reduction of GST rates on staple dairy products that happened last year. This includes paneer, long shelf life milk, butter, ghee, etc., which only makes healthier products and value-added products more available to the consumer, which also means that it's great for the farmer, right? Because the farmer will benefit from increased consumption.
Yeah, but in the context of this discussion over native breeds of cows, especially, are you doing any particular programs that promote native breeds in breeding of native cows and help farmers in that respect?
So again, very interesting question, Raghu, because the productivity of an Indian animal is probably 15 or 20% of that of an animal in America or Europe or Australia, New Zealand, right? It's so low. I think there is a real need to improve the breeds of our animals in India. Again, relating it back to livelihoods as well as the need to increase productivity, because the increase in production of milk is not at par with the increase in consumption of milk and dairy products in the market. So it is a burning need, and that's where the company plays a very important role. We actually subsidize artificial insemination programs for sex-sorted semen or sorted chromosomes, so that the resultant breed is much more superior than existing breeds.
I see.
And it's also important from a climate change, etc. standpoint, right? Because it only builds resilience of the breed that we're creating. However, unfortunately, like I said, it's quite expensive. It costs more than 1,000 rupees to be able to do it. And because we don't have enough veterinarians, the timing or the window is missed. And awareness is just not there, right? So if the government can partner with private sector dairy companies as well as cooperatives, all kinds of dairy companies, to be able to build awareness of this program and also help subsidize, that could have a tremendously positive impact. Having said that, as a company to our consumer, we have all kinds of milk available. We're a company that really listens to our consumer. We are data-driven. We are big time in social media. So we are doing a lot of social listening. So we have milk available and products available in formats that they require. It could be A2 curd. It could be fresh buffalo milk, or several other products, even in the nutrition space, high-protein products, high-protein paneer, high-protein yogurts, probiotic buttermilk. All of these things are available in different markets based on consumers' needs and wants.
So while you're talking of these value-added products, I want to ask you this question. When you took over, Heritage was a pure milk company, and it was not much into value-added products. I think you have been responsible for this journey into value-added products. And right now, if I'm right, the statistic is that about a third of your turnover is accounted for by value-added products, which is like likes of paneer, cheese, butter, milk powder, ice cream. Now, what are your plans in that respect for your company? I mean, what are you working on at this point in time?
So we are, as you call ourselves, a WAP company, not a milk company, because that's the kind of focus that we put into value-added products. And it's been an interesting journey, right? We started with our first value-added product, which is curd, during a time that most of India and most of the company also didn't believe that people would buy packaged curd from retail stores, right? And we did a lot of hard work. We worked with our partners, ingredient suppliers, etc., to make shelf-stable curd that failed in the beginning, but then later succeeded in the market, and everyone else followed. So we're quite proud of saying that, and we are among the top 5 curd companies nationally. Similar to that, we saw an opportunity in other fermented products, such as buttermilk, lassi, etc. We're also present in the healthy fat space, such as ghee and butter, and that's growing tremendously because it's mostly unorganized, and I think quality consciousness is becoming more and more as consumers become more intelligent and aware about what to look for. We're also into the delight space. We're into ice creams, which I'm quite excited about because it's growing really well for us. We're also into the drinkable space. So aside from buttermilk, we're into flavored milk, milkshakes, and other products in really convenient, packaging, because that's what consumers are looking for. They're looking at convenience. That's become a real important thing for them. But one thing that we're also in the paneer space, aside from curd, in the milk food space, as we call it. Paneer is also growing really well for us. We recently introduced high protein paneer, as I mentioned earlier, and that's taking off really well in the digital space, such as e-commerce and quick commerce. But one thing that's really important for me as we look at value-added products and expansion in that space is the fact that we want to do it very, very sustainably. It can be sustainable packaging, it can be sustainable ingredients, and several other things, right? So we're very particular about not using preservatives. We are very particular about using nature identical flavors and colors, right? We want to be as clean and use as few ingredients as possible to preserve the purity of our milk and the products that we are making available to mothers and her family. Primarily because we stand for purity as an organization, and we will not compromise on that, come what may.
So, in this context, I have to ask you this question. Milk is a commodity business. There's little differentiate between various companies and cooperative societies that sell milk. Likewise, now value-added products is also commonplace. You take Mother Dairy here, or Avin in Tamil Nadu, or Nandini in Bangalore, or Amul, or Milky Mist. Name the company, Hatson. Name the company. They're all into all the products that you just mentioned: protein-added supplement, protein-added curd, protein-added paneer, everything. So, what is the differentiator here? Again, that has also become commodity business, right? How do you differentiate heritage from the rest of the crowd?
Like I mentioned earlier, quality is what makes us the best across all the products. If you're not confident about the quality of the products that we're making available, we may as well not make them. Now, how does this happen, right? We go directly to the farmer. We procure milk directly from the farmer because the farmer is the core of every decision making of the company. It's, like I said, it's a very important part of the DNA of the company. So when we bring in people, we want people who are committed to this cause of farmers, right? So we have a direct relationship with 300,000 farmers. We procure milk every single day, twice a day, fresh from them. We process all of our products, most of our products, through our own processing facilities. Like I said, we run more than 25 quality tests for every liter of milk that's procured from our farmer that goes through the value chain. We are very, very particular about our cold chain, and we make sure that it doesn't take more than 24 to 36 hours for a liter of milk to go from the farm to the retail shelf. So that's how efficient we are in managing our freshness and the quality of our milk, and we believe in that through and through. In addition to that, like I said, Raghu, I think what's really important for me and the organization is the quality of our ingredients that we use as well, right? From our cultures, flavors, ingredients, etc. So we're very, very particular about using the best of the best quality. Thirdly, we partner very closely with our ingredient suppliers and machinery suppliers to innovate better in the market and to make more sustainable products and without compromising on taste. So, that's how we work. And I think that's what really differentiates us. If I may also add, Raghu, we are, like I said, a very data-driven organization. So what we do is we run a lot of brand health tracks on quarterly basis to understand how we are, faring against competitors across all of our major markets. And we look at those numbers and make decisions because, the real information or feedbacks comes directly from the mothers, our consumers or decision makers, right? So we measure ourselves, and no sooner than we see a dip somewhere, we take action quickly. We understand root cause. It could be an availability issue, it could be a product quality issue, or it could be something else. And we do a lot of blind tasting against competitors' products. And I'm happy to say we fare pretty well, but take immediate action whenever, wherever required.
So, but I have to ask you this question in today's world. Do you have use for artificial intelligence in your business? And are you already doing it in any particular way in your company?
Oh, tremendously. I think, that's part of the success of our organization. Technology is not just a support function. It's not just about IT, networks, and things like that. I think it's a huge part of our decision making. So we use a lot of predictive analytics in order to understand or look at a potential movement in milk commodity pricing going forward. So it helps us make better decisions when it comes to our procurement itself. We also use a lot of social listening and AI to be able to understand what consumers are talking about, what are the trends out there, what is it that we need to visualize ahead of competitors and invest into and do a lot of R&D. Robotic process automation is huge for us. And given the sheer scale of the operations of the dairy industry and our organization, I think the use of technology is becoming more and more necessary than we might have thought about 10 years back, right? Because the scale at which we operate is such that we're talking about 3,000 direct employees. We're talking about another 3,000 outsourced employees. We're talking about at least 9,000 milk procurement representatives of the company at village level who procure milk from 300,000 farmers. On the market side, we are also talking about 6,000 to 7,000 direct partners who are distributors. And then we're talking about service providers such as transporters, etc. So that's a big number. And in order to manage all of them more efficiently, while not compromising on the quality and of our operations and our product, it's really important to use technology, AI, as we call it today.
Thank you so much, Brahmani, for doing this. The audience, she had to attend to work in the morning. She took an afternoon flight. She came here, and she's going back immediately to the airport, and she has an engagement in Hyderabad after she lands. So that's how important she has considered her presence here today. So we're very grateful to you from Businessline, Brahmani, for doing this for us. Thank you so much.
It is my pleasure. Raghu, thank you so much for having me today.
And wish you all the best in your business.
Thank you.